Welcome to Live Vedanta, a podcast about simple living and high thinking. If you haven't heard, this new year we've embarked on a series of live daily sessions with Vivekji, meaningful mornings and easy evenings, taking place at 7:45 a.m. and 7:45 p.m. They're streamed live on our Facebook page at facebook.com/cmniagara, and we would love for you to join us as we start and end each day with inspiration. Of course, there's a way to join in on Zoom too, and we actually recommend that for a more community feel. If you would like to join us on Zoom, email us at hello@chinmayaniagara.com and we'd be happy to connect you to the details. Okay, this week's episode. What is the purpose of marriage? How important is the family unit to society? Does marriage make one more independent or dependent? What does marriage have to do with divinity? In this next episode of The Significance of Our Samskaras, Vivekji helps us understand the true vision and purpose of marriage and how it helps us grow in our identification from ourselves to divinity.
At one of our Montessori schools here in the Frederick area, they're studying Asia right now, and they chose two countries to study. Those countries are Philippines and, naturally, India. So I had a chance to address them today, and I believe there were ages 4 to 6. I told them a story. I'm going to tell you the same story too. Two princes, identical in age. So they're unique, identical twins. Their father is aging, and he doesn't know who to give the kingdom to. Because usually it's the elder son, like Lord Rama. But there's no elder son here, so who to give that kingdom to? And this is causing him great anguish. He's thinking. He realizes that the more intelligent son will be the better king. He should be made the next king. But how do you find out who's more intelligent? As a parent even, how difficult it is to find out which child is more intelligent. Everyone's intelligent in their own way. So he comes up with an idea. He calls both of his sons. Each of them has an identical sized palace. He calls both of the sons and gives each of them 1,000 gold coins. How he gave these 1,000 gold coins? Because when I share this story to Balavar students, their number one concern is how did they carry them? So in a bag, the bag of 1,000 gold coins. And he told those sons, whichever of you can fill your palace up more will be the next king. When the first son got that bag of 1,000 gold coins, he ran to the marketplace. No different than what you and I would do too. And when he was in the marketplace, he looked around, and what did he see the most of? Garbage. Stores have garbage, homes have garbage, restaurants have garbage. So garbage. He starts collecting this garbage in pails and bags, putting it on himself, taking it to the palace, and dumping it in his palace. In the stairs, in the bathroom, everywhere. Banana peel, dirty cloths, oil, everything. Now, the citizens of this kingdom are intelligent. And as they're seeing their prince take all of their garbage, they thought, he has 1,000 gold coins. Why not sell our garbage to him? So they started charging him to take their garbage. So the potential king is now paying a gold coin for every piece of garbage. And after he exhausts those 1,000 gold coins, he calls his father confidently, knowing that he's going to be the next king. And his father walks into the courtyard, he sees all of that filth, He goes into the palace and it's quite full. There's garbage everywhere. He's not happy about the mess, but that wasn't one of the conditions. And that son was confident. Now the second son, when he got his bag of 1,000 gold coins, he went to his room. He closed his eyes and he thought. He reflected, contemplated, did his mananam. Then he got up too and went to the marketplace. And with those 1,000 gold coins, he bought candles. He bought as many candles as he could with those gold coins, went back to his palace, and lined them up in the kitchens, in the stairwells, in the bathrooms, in the hallways, everywhere. Calls his father. His father's happy that it doesn't stink and it's not dirty. And he walks in and there's a lot of candles, but not nearly as much garbage as his other son. And the father's about to declare that the first son is going to be king when the second son stops him. I didn't fill my palace up with candles. And he takes a match and starts lighting those candles. I filled my palace with light. And light goes into every crevice, even those corners. And then that father was overjoyed that his son had the intelligence, not just the academic intelligence, but the foresight to fill up his palace with what he had. Our samskaras are the same way. This father is trying to teach his son to think before he acts. The first son never did. He just went. Second son thought and then acted. That's called action. When we needlessly act without thinking, it's called a reaction. Our samskaras encourage us, force us even, to think before we act. When? 41 different stages of life. We're studying the 16 prominent ones. Conception, when invocation of a child, when the child is born, when they have their first haircut, when they write their first letters. Every stage, think before one acts. That is a simple way to understand what our samskaras are. Yesterday we studied 2 samskaras, the completion of the studenthood samskaras. That was number 11, which is Upanayana. And the essence of Upanayanam is that Brahma Granthi. Brahma Granthi means the knot of Brahman. All of the strings of a Upanayana are tied around the knot, which is called the Brahman Granthi. The message there is that our life too should be tied to Brahman, tied to the divine, tied to Bhagavan, tied to development, tied to yoga. Every facet of our life should. The way we eat, the way we drive, the way we type emails, the way we speak to each other. When we see rain, when we see snow, everything should be tied to that Brahman. And then after that we studied the 12th samskara, which is Samavartana. When one has completed their studies, their formal studies, they ask permission from the guru to keep moving on. And when they do, they give that guru Dakshina. Because they know that the only way to access what they now know was through the guru. One of my batchmates had once beautifully shared, and I cannot help but remember this, that the guru has one hand in Brahman, in the infinite, with Bhagavan, and one hand in samsara, in Maya, towards us. And is encouraging us to come, take my hand, and I'll lead you to your nature, to Brahman, to who you are. Who else can do that? Other than someone who's accessing Brahman can do that, correct? Even to go in certain departments, there's a lot of high security medical research that's going on here. Not everyone can visit those places. You need special permission. Only one who has access to that can bring someone else into that. That's what the guru is when it comes to happiness. Samavartana. Now we will focus on the most important of the 16 samskaras. It is the most important, it is also the most common. And I say common because every wedding that you and I go to now, they have those pamphlets that say this is the 13th samskara. None of the other 12 are mentioned, only the 13th are mentioned, right? Vivaha. This is the most important, the most common samskara. Why is it the most important? Let's think. Householders. Vivaha, marriage, is one becomes a householder. The 4 levels of society, students/kids, parents or grahastas, senior citizens or vanaprasthis, and then sannyasis, the renunciates. Who do kids/students depend on? Don't they depend on their parents? To drive them to school, to pay for their tuition, to guide them when they're misguided? They depend on the grahastas. What about the vanaprasthis? For those who are having their parents living at their home, don't they depend on one to drive them here, buy them this, take them to the hospital, take them to their friend's home? They're dependent too. What about the sannyasis, the renunciates? Some don't cook, some don't drive, none have incomes. Don't they depend on the grahastis too? Every level of society depends on the grahastas. And if there's no grahastas, if that in a Jenga block, if you take out the middle piece, what happens? The whole tower collapses. All of society collapses if grahastis are not being who they are. At the Overseas Acharyas Conference, Guruji had said, Chinmaya mission is built on 2 pillars. One pillar we tend to naturally know, the Acharyas. The second pillar is the householders, is the grahastas. Both are pillars in this organization. And like any house, if you take away a supporting wall or a supporting beam, what happens to that floor then? It falls. If any of these pillars goes, that whole organization, the whole institution will fall. When I was sharing this with one of our mission members, and we get to interact quite a bit, she was telling me, if I were younger, if I didn't get married and have children, I would like to do what you do, referring to sharing these insights. And I had shared this idea of both of these pillars, and I told her, you can't directly teach Vedanta because of the position you're in, because of your history. However, you can indirectly teach Vedanta by helping those who do directly teach Vedanta. It's a synergy between both parties. If you can help me or anyone else, then you are indirectly sharing insights into Vedanta. Even now, if everyone thinks, at a very micro level, someone has to host me, someone has to feed me, many of you feed me, and on and on and on, correct? I can't come by myself. Both pillars are required, even to set up this hall. I can share some thoughts through this microphone, but someone has to set it up, someone has to make it work. Let us keep that in mind, that we all are where we are for a reason. We're all players on this team. Every player has their specific part. Play it well. That is the greatness of Hanumanji. Anything he did well. Which is why Lord Rama gave him more and more and more to do. He raised Hanumanji higher and higher and higher. Every character in Ramayana has some sort of blemish attached to them, whether justified or not. Even Lord Rama, even Mother Sita, other than Hanumanji. Hanumanji is blemishless. He was raised higher and higher and higher by Lord Rama because everything he did well. And one of the talks that I do is wellness through work. And I share 3 insights into how to achieve wellness through work. It's a different way of karma yoga, okay? So you fill in the blanks, okay? Work never, what's this third word? Ends. Work never ends. If I understand that insight, I'll be happier. Second insight. The more work you do, the more work you will get. Naturally, if I do more work, someone's going to give me more. That shows I'm capable. We always criticize that person when it's simply a compliment. You deem me capable of doing this work. Why I'm sharing this is about if someone took it seriously when I said yesterday how one of our Balavar students said Lord Rama is lazy and Hanumanji did all the work. It's not like that. Hanumanji deserved all of that. It's an opportunity he had to serve the Lord. And the third insight is work never blank anyone. Work never killed anyone. Unless you're in a high-risk job, which I don't think anyone in here is, work never killed anyone. Not working kills people. Work saves people. Anyways, my point is that these pillars are both important, so let us do what our role is. Let us play the part in this team that we're all on. The word vivaha means to lift, to support, to uphold, to sustain. Lift, support, uphold, and sustain. Guess what other Sanskrit word means all of this? Dharma. They're synonymous with each other. Not in the way you and I understand it, but in the fundamental way, they're synonyms. Which is why a wife is called a saha dharma charini. And a husband is called a saha dharmachari. In our TV series where we say Pitashri and Matashri, we should call each other Saha Dharmachari. My Saha Dharmachari is with me instead of wife, or Saha Dharmachari. The one who walks the path of Dharma. With. Saha means with the opposite spouse. Because this vivaha is synonymous with Dharma. If I play my part well, that means I'm living dharmically then. Correct? In a Vedic ceremony, traditional Vedic ceremony, number one, it's supposed to last 3 days. The rituals go on for 3 days. Now we're all thinking our ceremonies last 1 week. We have 2 sangeets, 2 weddings, 2 receptions, right? But in a traditional Vedic marriage, the rituals last 3 days. And in those 3 days, it's not a male and a female that are getting married. It's not Gandharva love. It is Bhagavan Narayana and Bhagavati Lakshmi that are invoked. Or Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati. Whoever one's Ishta Devata is, traditionally we say Lakshmi Narayana. And that's why at the end of the ceremony, what is everyone in the audience supposed to do? They're supposed to bow down to that couple. Because it is Bhagavan that's been manifested in their form. Remember I was saying about Upanayana? How we worship women to the maximum in Sanatana Dharma? I'll give you a personal example of how it goes. That is taken too far. So Bhagavan Narayana and Mother Lakshmi are invoked in the couple. When I got married, everyone said, Lakshmi's come into our home. No one said Narayana's come into our home, right? That's totally unfair, right? If you're going to invoke one, both are invoked. You can't just be one. Her family said it, my family said it, nobody said anything about me. Now, one thoughtful person had once said, because Narayana was always there. So I felt good about that. Now imagine if we truly saw Mother Lakshmi and our wives, or Narayana and our husbands. Wouldn't our relationship drastically change then? If that's who we saw? Like I said, this is not Gandharva love. Gandharva are those celestial musicians who keep moving from place to place to place. A relationship is not supposed to be like that. Together. Like Mother Lakshmi and Bhagavan Narayana. And one more insight into these personalities. If we look at the word God, we tend to think of it as the generator, operator, and destroyer, dissolver. Bhagavan Narayana is the sustainer or the operator in this Trimurti that represents Brahman. In other words, he's always serving, constantly serving. When that churning of the Milky Ocean happened, Much poison came out, much purity came out, including Mother Lakshmi. She's born out of the ocean. Now she represents virtues. When we studied Simantonayana, remember the real wealth that she gives? When someone is virtuous, who do they go towards? The one who is serving. And the one who is serving, who do they choose? The one who is virtuous. That's the relationship between seva and virtues. Gurudev says the difference between values and virtues, values are talked about, virtues are lived. An idea behind this relationship. These aren't random personalities that came together. There's a lot of depth behind this. One more point to that is, where is the Milky Ocean? It is our minds. It's not in Thailand in their airport. That's a picture of it. It is our minds. And all of our negative aspects of our mind, all of our positive aspects, that war has to go on. That war is going on. Our Paramahansa Yogananda said, Kurukshetra is this body. Dharmakshetra is the mind. So where is Srimad Bhagavad Gita happening? At the physical level, at the mental level. And every night before one goes to sleep, we have to ask ourselves, did the Pandavas win or did the Kauravas win? Some days the Pandavas will, some days the Kauravas will. If we keep on focusing on this, little by little, the Pandavas will keep on winning until one day they will be completely victorious. So in this churning of our personality, a lot of poison will come out. We think that we're noticing our ego more and more. We're noticing the negativities in our mind more and more as we continue with satsang or as we continue with our studies. That's that poison coming out. It has to come out. If I take in poison, what does the doctor want me to do? Vomit. Because if I don't, it'll kill me. In the same way, those negativities have to come out. And after it comes out, what else will come out? That purity. That amritam, that nectar will come too. This happens in meditation especially. We get scared of meditation. What's going to happen to me? Am I going to be normal? Am I going to disappear? All that will disappear will be that impurity. All that will disappear, all that will be gone away is that limitation. This whole idea of who Bhagavan Narayana and Mother Lakshmi are is about vision. With vision, marriage is a blessing. Without vision, marriage is a curse. Kids are the same way. With vision, having children is a blessing. Without vision, having children is a curse. For everyone, especially the children. Because they're in a home where they're not wanted, not taken care of. That's a curse all around. So this vision is needed. Now, where do we get vision? How do we invoke vision? It happens through a pendulum. The first ball is knowledge. Knowledge then affects my vision. Vision affects my attitude. Attitude affects my thoughts, and thoughts affect my actions. Knowledge, vision, attitude, thoughts, actions. That's how this pendulum should swing. So if I want vision, what do I need? Knowledge. That's why we're studying our samskaras. We're getting knowledge so our vision can change, then our attitude will. So will the way I think, and naturally my actions will. Again, the greatness, as I've mentioned many times about Chinmay Mission, is the focus on knowledge. The Visheshana, the specialty is that of vision. I'll tell you another eye story, because they're so powerful. A blind girl was dating a boy who had eyes. And she loved him very much. He loved her very much too. They're dating. It's not the mother-son story I shared yesterday. And on that note, someone had asked me if that was a true story, the mother and son story I shared yesterday. I heard this from one of our chicks from London, who said that her nani used to tell her this. So that's where I've heard this. Whether it's a story, whether it's true, I wasn't in the position to ask her when she had shared that because it was too moving. I'll ask her next time I see her. This boy and girl love each other. This girl is down, though, because she can't see. She doesn't have eyes. And she would always tell her boyfriend, who loved her so much, if I can see, then we'll get married. So she was depending on her sight to get married. And this is how their relationship continued. One day that boyfriend told her, there's someone who's willing to donate their eyes for you. So she's just so happy. So she goes to the surgery, she gets her eyes, and when she starts to see, that boy tells her, great, now we can get married. But when she sees the boy, she realizes he doesn't have eyes. And then that whole pact that when I can see we can get married, she says, no, I don't want to get married to you. You can't see, you don't have eyes. And that boy was crushed, heartbroken. And he left. One day this girl receives a letter, and that letter was, I hope you're enjoying your eyes, because before they were yours, they were mine. Vision. What's more important, the physical sight or the vision that one's personality sees from within? Are we like that girl, or are we like that boy who's willing to give up his physical vision for the sake of someone's happiness, like a marriage? We'll continue. The same circumstances, we interact with them differently. In Advaita Makaranda, which Swamiji is teaching in Silver Spring, some of you may be tuning into that discourse. At the beginning of Guruji's commentary, he writes how a rose, when looked at from different personalities, is interpreted differently. The artist sees the beauty, the scientist looks at the pollen, the bee, the makaranda, the makara, goes into that rose and is able to appreciate it the most. So in a marriage too, there are many ways to look at a marriage, and the idea is to look at it the most intimate way. And that is that I'm in a divine opportunity being married. Have we ever asked ourselves why we study scriptures that are thousands of years old? Why study Gita? It's dated to 3500 BCE. We're now approaching 2500, let's say. That's 6,000 years ago. Why do we study that? We don't even study textbooks that are 25 years old. So why study the scriptures? The reason is, our scriptures talk about content, not context. Arjuna used to ride a chariot. What do we now ride? CRVs and Patriots and so on. I'm using Honda because I'm a big fan of Honda. It's about content. That fear that Arjuna experienced, none of us have that same fear? Of course we do. The fear of being in a relationship we don't know may work, the fear of losing someone, the fear of not being in touch with our parents who are living in India. That same fear that Arjuna experienced, we feel regularly. It has nothing to do with context. It is about content. And Gita is not about problems. It is about solutions. Some people think, don't keep Mahabharata in your home because the brothers will fight then. The families will fight. Right, but if Mahabharata is not there, what also isn't there? Gita. Sometimes we think the same about marriage. There's going to be fights. I better not get married then. When is life not a fight, really? That fight is always going on. This is especially an acute problem for our young adults that are born here. There's a big push at the Chinmaya Mission level from certain people, I shouldn't say Chinmaya Mission level, certain people in Chinmaya Mission, that there should be some sort of forum where young adult girls and young adult boys should meet each other. When this idea was proposed, it was our young adults who came forward, very solidly said no, because it'll take away from what the essence of Chinmaya Mission is, to study, to get realized. I was very happy when they came forward for that. Now, you're all looking at me and said, but you married a chick. We met a long time ago before any of this was discussed. Really speaking, though, many young adults are choosing not to get married now. And a reason they're choosing not to get married is because they're not wanting to work, not willing to put in the effort, not willing to sacrifice in what will have to happen in a marriage. So the best thing is, don't get married. A lot of our young adults are going through that. They're getting older and older, and you can get married at any time, but that vision is not changing. That marriage is an opportunity to learn how to sacrifice, to learn to be silent. That's a big lesson in marriage, is when to just be quiet. A similar observation has been made about China. For many, many years now, China has a one-child-only policy. And now, when a single only child is getting married to another only child, and this is a general study, okay? There's naturally exceptions to every scenario. That only child has not learned what it means to share, to sacrifice, how to fight and then make up, like siblings do. And so if this is not happening, if I haven't learned how to, and a relationship is more intense, there's a magnifying glass there, then divorce. It's a major problem right now in China. So we get scared of marriage then. But it's an opportunity. As I was sharing yesterday, prior to Adi Shankaracharya, there was no formal sannyasa. There was no formal sannyas system like we tend to see now. And there's many examples of that. Rishi Sandipani had a wife. They looked after Lord Krishna. Sant Vasishta had a wife. All of our rishis, all of our gurus were married and had children, as did our Bhagavans as well. We have 4 ashrama, or 4 stages of life. As a student, and you can ask a student, or when we were students, we had one focus in life. And what was that? Ourselves. We eat for ourselves. We don't eat for ourselves. We clean for ourselves only. That's why if one goes to a dorm room, there's no concern for anyone but themselves. But now in a marriage, now my ego, my identification, my concern has to spread from me to my significant other, and not just my significant other. I'm not marrying a person, I'm marrying a family. Parents, cousins, relatives, that whole family is involved. The word relative in Sanskrit is sambandha. Bandha means bound, sam means well. Families can bind one well down, or families can bind one well up. But it's not just one person, 2 people that are getting married. It's 2 families that get married. Grahasthashrama. Then in Vanaprastha, when I become retired, my ego, my identification, my concern should grow past me, past my families, these 2, to the whole community. I should be able to identify with all families. That neighbor's problem is my problem. That neighbor's kid is my kid too. So I'm opening up my ego. And finally, in sannyasa ashrama, I am to identify with everyone. Myself, my family, my community, everyone. And in doing so, what happens is that the ego is softened. The same process happens with karma yoga. And as that ego gets softer and softer and softer, finally what happens? Knowledge comes in and breaks that ego. These ashramas are preparation for realization. It is an evolution. If we want it to be. With the right vision, it's an evolution. With the wrong vision, it's the exact opposite. I was single and happy, now I'm together and I'm unhappy. We have to develop that vision, and our samskaras are teaching us that. Vivaha is an opportunity to attain all 4 pursuits of life, the purusharthas. One can live dharma. Those who are coming to study groups in Balavihar, dharma is being had. Artha, it is an opportunity to create wealth. Now remember, creating wealth doesn't just have to be about oneself. I can create wealth for others then. Guruji was saying there's one Chinmay Mission Center in the world where their activities cannot be so large because of the nature of that country, but everyone in that country is extremely wealthy and very business-minded. Their only role is to create wealth and donate it to CCMT, so they can fund Chinmay Vibhuti and CIF and so on and so forth. So they're creating wealth, but not for their center, for general umbrella Chinmay Mission. So creating wealth doesn't have to just be for oneself. Kama, pleasure. This pleasure doesn't have to be in the traditional way that you and I think about it. This pleasure could be creating comforts for others, helping others enjoy as well. See, the focus doesn't have to be ourselves. And if I can do all of this, most definitely, moksha is available too. That separation is what's hurting us right now, is limiting us. A vivaha is an opportunity to let go of that separation. And when there's no separation, that means there's no ego. That means there's only oneness, which is a synonym of infinity. In infinity, there is no other. In oneness, there's also no other. No fear, no anger, no jealousy. All of that which hurts us won't be there. Imagine our own relationships without anger. Imagine the world without fear, jealousy, procrastination, lethargy, all of it gone. That is worth getting married for with this opportunity. This message of detachment that we got from Nishkramana, where the child goes to see Bhagwan, for the parents that, hey, this is Bhagwan's child, marriage is the same way. That detachment has to be invoked. Detachment is a word that we understand little, practice even less. Rather than use detachment, how about we use independence? Same idea, independence. In detachment, I'm free from, we're talking about human beings, free from you, I am happy. That's detachment. Independence is the same. With you, I'm happy. Without you, I'm happy. Independence, everyone wants to be. Detached, no one wants to be. But it's the same idea. And what's hilarious about this is that all of us are the highest viraktas. Virakta means those who practice vairagya. How? When we go to sleep. Do you know how much you weigh when you go to sleep? Do you know if you're a boy or a girl? Bank accounts, citizenship, children, organization, guru, God. We let go of everything. Total detachment. Every night. 1/3 of our life we live in detachment. But it's unconscious. And our scriptures are trying to say, hey, be conscious of it. And that same joy that we have in sleep, imagine experiencing that consciously. This is the premise of detachment. We've all been doing this day after day, moment after moment. When we were kids, what did we play with all the time? Marbles, dolls, transformers. Then we grew up. Video games or bicycles. Then we grew up more. It became relationships. What did we have a formal ceremony? Mother, I don't need my marbles anymore. And I sacrifice like that. Put it into the fire and it burns. We just grew up. We found that which was more joyful. And so we grew up. The same idea in detachment is that I can't be limited by anything or anyone or any time. Because that's my nature. When two companies are trying to be together, merger and acquisition, and they're not getting along, they're not making it happen, what do they do then? They call in a mediator. Chrysler and Mercedes, right? They called in a mediator to make that happen. When a family is not getting along, the spouses with the children, who do they go to? A counselor, a psychiatrist, a psychologist. because they are objective. They see it like it is, they tell it like it is. We do this all the time. How come the rules change when it comes to our relationships? It doesn't make sense. It's selective understanding. And in selecting what I want to understand and what I don't want to understand, we're missing out on that. Right? How many jokes are made about once you're in a marriage, you lose your freedom, you lose your happiness, you lose your bank account, whatever those jokes are made. Right? The husband puts his wife on top of the wife's hand at a marriage. This is the only time you'll have the upper hand. Those lame jokes that are made, right? But if we keep hearing it, we start believing it then. It doesn't make sense. That is selective understanding. Why are we listening to society when society itself doesn't know what direction it's going in? We should listen to those, our rishis, who were married happily. Follow those who led by example, how they lived these samskaras. We've taken attachment and we've broken down the letters and painted it and started calling it love. When all it is attachment. Because as long as I'm in that relationship, I'm happy. And when I'm out of that relationship, what happens to me? I don't eat. I don't sleep. I can't go to work. When Lord Krishna says the wise don't grieve for the living or the dead, this is his message. They don't grieve, period. That doesn't mean that they don't cry. Naturally, if a personality is no longer with us, there are tears. I miss that personality. I miss how that person is. But grieving is, I don't do my duty anymore. It's an extreme. Just like the difference between attraction and lust. Attraction keeps the species alive. Lust kills it. Same idea. If I eat enough food, I'm nourished. If I eat too much food, I'm killed. Same idea. That we've taken attachment, called it love, when it's not. And when we justify this, terrible things happen. How many shlokas does Arjuna tell Lord Krishna about why he shouldn't fight this war? All of chapter 1, the beginning of chapter 2. And what does Lord Krishna do the whole time? Does nothing. Like when a child says, I want ice cream for breakfast. I want ice cream for breakfast. What does the parent do? Just keeps on cooking whatever they're cooking. Because they know that's irrational. Same way Lord Krishna does nothing. But when Arjuna then says, Shishyaha te aham. Shishya, disciple, te, yours, aham, I am. Then Sanjay describes 2 shlokas before Lord Krishna begins speaking. And what does Lord Krishna do? It's as if he smiles. And some commentators have put it sarcastically, like he's looking down upon Arjuna. Conversely, he's smiling because Arjuna is saved now. He will be taught, he'll get knowledge, he'll get vision, he'll get attitude, he'll get thoughts, he'll get actions. That's why they won. Because of knowledge. So that smile is the most important smile in a seeker's journey when the Guru and Bhagavan says, you'll be all right. You'll be fine. Just follow this map, which are the scriptures. When you and I justify our weaknesses, when we justify attachment and call it love, all that happens is nothingness. We just don't change. I'll give you an example of this, of how we are experts at justifying our weaknesses or the way we think. My wife, myself, my sister, my cousin, and a good friend of mine all went out to dinner at an Italian restaurant in Niagara Falls. And all of us are vegetarians, other than my friend. The waitress is coming along, asking everyone what they want. Gets to my cousin. My cousin asks, is there meat in this soup? And she says, it's based on a chicken broth. He says, bring it. She finishes, she leaves. My wife asks my cousin, aren't you a vegetarian? And he looks at her in the eye and says, but you can't see the meat. Right? How can one be disciplined if every behavior is justified? Attachment is taking that which is pure, which we call love, and making it impure. It's been tainted. Like water. If I have pure water and I put salt or if I put some sort of chemical, it's become tainted. In this impure love, here's what happens. We have expectations, we have possessiveness, and we have dependence. Expectations, possessiveness, dependence. Expectations, it's become transactional now. I love you only if you love me back. Expectation. If you don't love me, then I sit like this too then. Gentleman in the front, right? There's a great movie with Nicolas Cage where his whole life, he has an identical brother. His whole life, he loves Meryl Streep because she's some sort of actress in the movie. And finally he gets to tell her that he loves her and she doesn't reciprocate. He comes back and shares this story with his brother. And his brother says, aren't you devastated? Your whole life you wanted to express your love and she didn't even reciprocate? And he says, why does it matter? I love her. Why does she have to love me? That's a sadhu. A sadhu is one who's good even to those who are not good in return. Expectations is transaction. I give you $5, you give me a loaf of bread. That's a transaction. There's that expectation that comes with currency. Possessiveness. You are mine. But the funny thing is, I was a son before I was a husband. I was a brother before I was a husband. I was a friend, and I was a shishya, and all of that, just using me as an example. This is for example's sake. Taking it one step further, I was happy before our relationship. Now whatever's happening in the relationship, and I think I can't be happy afterwards, I'm not seeing the full picture then, am I? That's what happens in possessiveness. I've become possessed, and when I get possessed, I want to possess others then too. How many times we proclaim how jealous we are? I'm very jealous, which means I love you more. That's dangerous. How many Indian movies are made along those lines, right? That's dangerous. It's possessiveness. And dependence. That dependence where I'm free and now I'm not. That happens when love has been tainted. It's become attachment. In detachment, we see the full picture. In detachment, I take a step back. Even if I want to see something on my hand, if I look at it like this, can I see what's on my hand? I need to take a step back and see there's a cut there, or there's a dirt mark there, or something there. That's detachment. At a technical level, vairagya is also called virakta. Rakta is another word for rang. Rang means color. And this is where the word rang comes from raga. Virakta means without raga, without likes. Rang comes from raga, and we also associate it with red, correct? Whenever we think of rang, we think of redness. Rakta means I wear lenses. Virakta means I don't wear lenses. Rakta, attachment, means I see the world the way I want to see it. I like you, I dislike you, I like this city, I don't like this city. Virakta means the one who sees the world as it is. Sees the good for the good, the bad for the bad, etc., etc. That's how our masters lived. And this is why Gurudev says, when we have likes, we only see half the world because we're running after our likes and running away from our dislikes. I only experience half the world then. And then Gurudev jokes more. What we like runs away from us, and what we dislike runs after us. We all know this, which is why I'm very hesitant to say I'm an acharya or a teacher. I simply am studying out loud for my own awareness and reminding people of what they already know. That's it. I'm reminding you of what you already know. That's it. We know this. In detachment, we see the full picture. In detachment, we can give more than. Attachment is miserliness. It's being a beggar. In detachment, I become wealthy. I'm able to give then. Think about the most dynamic people we know, alive or in the past. Swami Vivekananda, Swami Chinmayananda, Mahatma Gandhi. How much they were able to give because they had no expectations. They didn't care if people respected them or not. They had no, I said expectations, possessiveness. When Gurudev was asked, what happens if Chinmay Mission doesn't continue when you leave this world? He says, I don't care if Chinmay Mission burns down now. No possessiveness. No one can possess him. No dependence either. And that is the highlight. No dependence on an article, being, or circumstance for their own joy. Gurudev has said, keep the key to one's happiness where? In one's own pocket. If I'm only happy when I eat sugar, that's it. And if there's no sugar, I'm not happy. You call me as one who is addicted to sugar. Correct? If I'm only happy when I'm with you, we justify that, but that's called attachment. With stuff, it's called addiction. With people, it's called attachment. It's the same thing. Addictions aren't okay, but attachment is. How? Our rishis lived a life of dynamism because they were detached. They were able to love purely. What is love? It is identification. Which being do I love the most in this whole world? Me. I am married, but at the end of the day, I still love myself more. Mothers and fathers, whoever's listening to that, please turn it off. Mothers and fathers, despite them being your blood, your skin, you still love yourself the most. It is a technicality. It is the way it is. Why? Because I identify with every part of me. I don't wash my left hand more than my right. I don't clean my left ear more than my right. This is all me. I identify with every part of it. When I can do that with another being, vivaha, then I've become more of who I actually am, which is infinite. I've gone from 1 to 2. And now I take in a family. Now I've become 10. That's what identification is. A community. I've become 100,000. Now I've become all. Total identification with all. Then the same way I treat myself, I will treat everyone. How many times do we hear, treat others as you want to be treated? But why? The scriptures have said why, because we're the same. To the Montessori school today, I was telling him what a tika is. And I was saying that the energy that, keep in mind Montessori school students, the energy that's making you alive and the energy that's making me alive is the same. You're younger, I'm older, you're a girl and a boy, I'm a boy, but our energy is the same. When I identify with the energy rather than the name and form, then I can really love someone. Then that ego cannot be around. Where the ego asserts, Lord vanishes. Where Lord asserts, ego vanishes. Where love is, the Lord is, which means ego is not. And all the negativities that come with ego cannot be there either. The first Balavira camp that I was part of at CMWRC, I was sitting with Swamiji upstairs in the Silver Spring Ashram, and we were having Bhiksha, and a little girl came up to Swamiji and said, Swamiji, did you have to give up your family to become Swamiji? And Swamiji flicks his hair back and pulls his beard and says, I didn't have to give up my family to become Swamiji. I became part of all families to become Swamiji. And what an apt statement, not for a Bhagavad student, for you and I, to become part of all families, where we identify with all. Mother Sita's favorite word for Lord Rama was the abode of compassion. That's how she would describe her husband, the abode of compassion. Now, the word compassion comes from a Latin root, which means the ability to suffer with another. But I'll only suffer with another is if I identify with them. Otherwise, I will never be able to suffer with another. And isn't that what Lord Rama did? He identified with the squirrels and the monkeys and the bears and Sugriva and Tara, Mandodari and Ravana. With everyone, he identified with them. And so he was compassionate with everyone. There is no quick way to be detached, to be independent. It is a growing process. And the mind grows slower than the body does. Biological age and spiritual age are not equatable. The first commentary Adi Shankaracharya wrote, how old was he? 8. When he wrote his commentary on Vishnu Sahasranama. We have difficulties chanting it. He's writing commentaries on it at 8. Ramana Maharishi realized at 16. Swami Vivekananda passed away at 39. They did an interview with him, back in the day naturally. He said, in the 39 years that I've been alive so far, I've done the work for 1,500 years. Age, this body, and the maturity of this mind are not equatable. Let us be patient, perseverant, and the third P is to prostrate. And I'll explain why. When challenges arise, number 1 is endure them. That requires patience. More than that is to embrace them, which is why perseverance is needed. I can't just, there's a challenge, I endure it. I have to transcend that challenge too. Perseverance is required too. And finally, I have to learn to enjoy or excel those challenges, which is why prostration is required. I prostrate to Bhagavan for giving me this opportunity to soften my ego. Vivaha is a extremely hot flame where purities that are not accessible in other positions in life to get burned. Just like certain impurities only get burned as the temperature goes up, the bacteria and so on, Vivaha is that hottest flame where that ego can get burned up. This is the message behind this 13th samskara. It is pivotal in one's evolution. Let us keep that knowledge, vision, attitude, thoughts, and actions in our marriages in mind.
If you enjoyed what you heard or want to learn more, share this episode with a friend or find us online at facebook.com/cmniagara. For those on the journey of self-development, Chinmaya Mission Niagara provides a community forum for seekers to listen, reflect, and contemplate. This podcast is produced by the Young Adults of Chinmaya Mission, an international nonprofit working to transform individuals through the knowledge of Vedanta. Until next time, inspire, love, be.